Hello, how are you? I am Dr. Daphne Davis. Noni Davis is what everyone calls me, Mama Noni. I'm at St. C Academy. I have been teaching for close to 40 years. In 1996, my mother and my father decided to open St. C Academy, an African centered school. And because of my mother's frustration with public schools in Chapel Hill in Durham, North Carolina. And so St. C emerged in 1996. So we have been creating, collaborating, trying to develop a learning environment that is safe, that promotes the beauty of African people, elevates the intelligence and the um, amazingness of being an African American in this country, and also what is our collective interaction with the diaspora. Today, I wanted to just begin with what is African centered education. A lot of people are, um, let's see, confused as to what that can mean. And some of it is because we don't have an awareness of the contributions of African people throughout the, throughout the time. We have this been given this narrative that science did not begin, civilization did not begin until the interaction between Europeans and Africans, wherein and there's also this narrative that Egyptians, those areas or places where we do see an African representation, have been there's a battle, a discussion about whether they were authentically African. And so African centered education is an opportunity for us to create and develop um, this African way of knowing, African framework as developed by Greg Carr and other in collaboration with other African American and African diaspora educators. Um, we want the children to see themselves through the lens of their own people. And so how do you cultivate that? So it over our last 27 years of next month, St. Cecile will be entering its 28th year. We have curated a collection of books, science, information from from African American scientists, Ernest Everett Just, Charles Turner. Um, yeah, we've had Dr. Du Bois is included among our collection of reading. Of course, Dr. John Henry Clark. I'm trying to think. The Miseducation of the Negro. His name escapes me, but Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Um, then African, of course, African American women who have brought. I'm thinking Drusilla. I know. Um, uh, oh gosh, other wonderful people who's my mind can't recall all their names. Maybe by the end I'll be able to bring them in. Marimba Ani. I'm sorry, I just remembered one of them, but these wonderful, exceptional people have created a framework that we can use to educate our children. So, what I want to begin with today is are two of the books that I have used in my own curriculum. Um, these because we are in North Carolina, I wanted my children to read something that was connected to our own historical past here in the states or here in North Carolina, but is also linked to Virginia. And then there's another book that I want to also introduce to you that covers what happened in Virginia. But I'm going to start with Free Water. So Free Water was written by, let me see, I'm trying to get it here, Amina Lukman Dawson. And my students, ages 8 through 9, read this novel, 400 some pages. As you can see, and there's Miss Amina right there, Lukman, and with the acknowledgments and everything. So that whole idea of that Black children don't like to read, well, if they you teach them the right sort of books, they will be engrossed with it. And then also, if you're creating a way for them to interact with this narrative, it will work. It works all the time. So the way I construct the curriculum, first of all, of course, we have comprehension skills. We review grammar skills, and we also have the children do writing assignments, the poetry, short stories. We included art. Free Water is a story that focuses on the Great Dismal Swamp, and we know that that area focuses between, or is located between, uh, North Carolina and Virginia borders along I-85. And you can see there's a little sign when you get through, and that's what is it, South? Um, Oh my goodness, on the way to Emporia, but right when you cross the South Hill area, once you cross the state line between North Carolina and Virginia, usually you'll see a little sign saying Great Dismal Swamp. Well, North Carolina has a history of maroonage in that area. It's believed that about 1,000 or so families lived in that area, African American families, also indigenous people, and some white people also lived in those communities in their attempt to escape from the plantation areas, or indentured servants who didn't want to work anymore, that kind, and then Native Americans who were trying to also alienate themselves from the terror that was occurring at that time. And so from the 1600s, late 1700s, right through 1860, um, that was a thriving area where thousands of people uh, lived. And so to have a story written about um, that time frame and that space through the eyes of African children, was this book was a phenomenal. Encourage everybody to have their young people read it, and it's probably middle school age, but this ain't still, so our children are a little bit above the grade level in their reading, but read it. Um, the the uh the story uh teaches the children. I wrote some of the things down that I felt were most critical in this story, the character development. So, for example, you had a contrast between the children who were raised in the free water community, and they were contrasted with the children, or the attitudes of children who were actually enslaved. And these enslaved children were escaping with their mother. Um, at the time, and their mother ended up getting caught. I don't want to give everything away, but what you see through the author develops, the shows the development, the growth of these children as they come to grips with what freedom actually means. It's not just working for somebody, but it's about dignity, about their humanity, the freedom to make decisions, understanding that they are in charge of their life. And so you see that through the author's writing. Ms. Lukeman does an amazing job with that. Um, then you also get to see how the community operated, and for me, I always try to let my children see the what was a science that we saw these people developing. So the sky bridges, the medicinal practices that they had, the gardening and the knowledge of herbs and herbology, the weaponry and the strategies for protecting their community, and how they were very deliberate in engaging and bringing in these enslaved people, who and help them to hide, and to and find a place of safety. um then on top of that, we're also at the same time learning about the the history of that area. What were some of the legislation that was passed in the 1800s and the 1700s? Um, what were some of the things that even the Maroonage community had to be consistently aware of, which would have been like their surveillance of who was around them, how they had to camouflage themselves, how they trained the men and the women to protect the village. And so it was, you saw the balance of men and women working as a collective, in this community where no one was below anyone else, that we're all working together for our freedom. um, so that was, one of the other things that I mean, the other ways of engaging the children and allowing them to share their own stories, right? Your own stories about, your what would you do if you were in this situation? Using your imagination, you're reading this book, but if you were there, what would you see? What would be a part of the story that you would want to bring to life on paper? Um, all of them agreed that this would be an amazing movie, they because they were so captivated by the story. Um, they're so we developed their writing skills. Writing skills. They write poems. They wrote short stories. Um, they did vocabulary building skills, comprehension, and all of those things. In addition, and grammar, like I said earlier, to to have a very well-rounded, holistic approach to the literature. Um, and so that was what we did with Free Water. Now, the other book that I wanted to show today was about Owner Judge, and this one is also like this one. Well, this one, Free Water, is maybe more like historical fiction. Free Water, I do appreciate Never Caught, because this was an actual a person, Owner Judge, and this one was written in collaboration with Erica Armstrong Dunbar and Kathleen Van Cleve. One author is African American, one is European American, and they collaborated on this book. And they also did a very beautiful job. This book, because it had a lot of historical um, information in it, references to and copies included of George Washington's journal entries, his George Washington's Fugitive Slave Act, how he um, his participation in that, developing that law, also um, the Declaration of Independence, because this young woman was an enslaved person by George Washington and Martha Washington. She actually belonged to Martha Washington. Um, she was her seamstress. She was her personal guide. I mean, personal maid or whatever, or attendant. And she stole all of her clothes. And she was it gave you a glimpse into the difficulty or of being a house servant versus working in the field. We see here that um, people who worked in the house were literally on call like 24 hours a day. And I think she had maybe really 23 and a half hours of working, and where she only had a 30-minute window of freedom where she had to herself. Otherwise, she was always at the beck and call of Martha Washington. Um, what's also interesting is that you see the that while George Washington was fighting for his freedom from England during the 1770s, the war with England, the Revolutionary War, he was also conflicted because he knew that you see him that in the discourse here, that he was struggling with owning people and fighting for his freedom. And I think a lot of us, there's this, we just see them as founding fathers. It's slavery, that's it. But you can see that they understood the hypocrisy of this this situation of the where they were. And I loved and appreciated the way that this was addressed in this book. Um, you also have Ona Judge, who at the age of 20 something must have been what was also having was very much aware of the situation in Phila- during this time. Philadelphia was one of the places that Africa, if you were African American and you were in Philadelphia for 6 months, you were automatically receive your freedom. You could automatically file for your freedom. At this same time, Philadelphia was also the capital. This was before Washington. I mean, before Washington D.C. had the White House, and so it was under construction. So George Washington was having to take his family from Virginia up to um, to Philadelphia. What he had to do, what he and Martha had to do, was figure out how they could get their enslaved people there in Philadelphia, and within 5 months, 5 months or so, they had to move these people, take them back to Virginia, and get another group of people and bring them back, or bring the same people back. And every time you came back, that instead of there was being a cumulative day, 6 month time, it automatically started over again. So you could be there 5.5 months and then come back for another 5.5 months, and you would be at the same place you were the when you came the first time. So they knew that the only way they can maintain their enslaved people was to have this rotation of you're here 5 months, you go back. You're here 5 months, you go back. Now, there were black people, black communities like Richard Allen and other abolitionists, black abolitionists. Richard Allen is the father of the African American Episcopal Church, and he and Absalom Jones and a lot of very strong free African American community in Philadelphia were working to help people to escape. There's conjecture. We don't really know how much Richard Allen was engaged, had an opportunity to engage with Owner Judge, but we do know that he had a business. I think it was cleaning chimneys or something like that, according to this book. And so he was in that house, George Washington's home, uh, do cleaning the chimney or whatever. And so he may have seen her, seen Ona Judge, or maybe someone else who was working for him. Perhaps they saw Ona Judge. So, but at any rate, she was able to develop a plan. They had a plan for her to escape. And so she ended up in uh escaping in that 30-minute time frame. It is amazing the networking that our ancestors had constructed to get this young woman out of that space. And she was never caught. You know, I don't want to give you all the details of how she got out of there, but the story is captivating. And how she really stood her ground. She wasn't intimidated. And one of the questions was, don't wouldn't you rather be in the White House dressed in all of this finery and having access to the most beautiful, most grand balls and and she said, no, I'd rather be free. I was and so it was empowering to see how this young woman was able to, you know, craft or participate, had the audacity as the enslaved woman of a president, the first president of the United States, the greatest general, one of the greatest generals in the world at that time. She escaped. She ran away. And you're like, oh my God, this woman, the audacity. And so and you can see the angst that George Washington had with her, like the audacity of this girl to run away from me, and he couldn't get her back. So uh this book is very powerful, and there is an adult version of this book. I read that one. I don't have it down here with me. I apologize for that. But Never Caught, the story of Ona Judd, everyone, I mean, adults, children, everyone needs to read this story if you want to understand the sheer, the courage, the intellect, and the determination, the self-determination of our people to get their freedom, and situations where you just would, how could she do that, and think that she could do that more than anything, and the risk she knew she was taking with regards to her family, who were still in, some of them still enslaved, and of course there's reasons. When you read this book, you'll find out the situations that that created gave her the encouragement to go ahead and do it. but but more importantly, we need to understand that how we see ourselves and how other people see us are two separate, entirely separate ideas. There's this presumption. I watched something today, a young black conservative saying that black, I know who my daddy is. Of course, I'm a conservative. I know who my daddy is. Okay, why are you making these negative commentaries about black people based on what somebody else has created as a stereotype? I grew up in the 70s and all in a black neighborhood, and all the daddies knew, and all I knew all the daddies and the mamas of my friends. So the idea that we did not take care of our own children, our fathers did not take care of us, and if you really want to see great black fathers, I say just go out to a football practice, go to any kind of athletic practice, and you'll see all the fathers there. Go to a graduation, go to attend any kind of performance at the schools. You'll see a audience full of black men celebrating their children, and then there's also statistical data that black men raise their children and other people's children at a higher a rate than others. But anyway, but we really have to cultivate, the whole purpose of African centered education is to cultivate within ourselves an understanding of who we are. You got this governing structure. This is we live in the United States of America. I mean, there's a social structure which is in the United States, but then within our own communities, there's a governing structure, and you see that in Never Caught, and you see this governing structure that we have amongst ourselves in Free Water. How we were working in collaboration to deliver our people from this enslavement, this horror, this tragedy, this Maafa, this and Takani, this disaster, and how we still, even in the midst of that struggle, we found a way out. Um, I also wanted to show you some one of the things about the free water maroonage colony. I found these beautiful cards in this by emancipated let's see, it's called emancipatededucation.com, and she introduces all of the maroon communities around here in North Carolina. We know about I don't know if you know about Fort Mose in Florida. You have Colombo, Dos Palmas, in Brazil. You had Maroon Company in Barbados, in Panama, in Mexico, and Veracruz. You had them in Colombia, and you had them in Jamaica, and I already mentioned Dominica, and here is the Great Dismal Swamp of North Carolina. So you get to see the diaspora involvement. In this particular maroonage, finding ways to create your own communities in the midst of sheer trauma, and that's all I wanted to present to you today. The next time, I would like to um, show some of the African literature artists that I have. So because I encourage my children to read African authors, African American authors, and authors from the Caribbean. I want them to have get a sense of the entire diaspora, and even European Afro-European communities as well, so they can see that there's a similarity. What are the similarities in our experiences? What are the differences in our experiences? And how do we just define ourselves and deliver practice self-determination in those various communities? Okay, so uh,
Well, that was a great job and everything. I've actually got a couple of PSAs that we can play at the end, and of course, eventually we'll get some from Saint Sia Academy as well. But I did find one that was involving a friend of mine that has a spice company, and it's all natural spices. And she actually does a show on a Thursday, Shawnee Smith, and all along those lines. So I'll play that for you. And I also found one from the Perkins Farm that I just went and found, and I know that you sometimes support them and other people support
yes,
them as well. And I just found one from the fine folks over there in a looks like it's a Maroon Arts and Culture group, and everything that we can play as well, and everything, just to give an idea of how these go. But right now, just to end the show, we'll check out this one from Kendu Spice and maybe the one from Perkins Farm as well. But this is one from Kendu Spices, and she actually named it after her father and all along those lines. But she explains it and why she does these natural spices and all in that space. So let's check this out, and then we'll go to end shortly after these couple of PSAs. And like I said, hopefully eventually we'll get some from St. Sia Academy as well. But right now, let's just check these out, since these are definitely within our community. But let's check these out and all along those lines.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.
Hi, I'm Lee. I'm here with my family. I got Demonte and Gaia, and we are at Perkins Orchard. And we can get as many pumpkins as we can, put in this basket for just $99. So let's go. Which pumpkins do you like?
That one.
Okay, how many?
Two.
Yeah.
Right. Whoa, it's heavy.
I got it.
You got it?
Hand it to me. Thank you. Put it in the basket.
Yeah.
You got it?
Pick it, Dada.
Which ones do you like?
That one.
Hey, we won!
Good job.
Pumpkin, 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 a pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin.
Potatoes. You gonna make fries?
So here we are. We have a full basket of pumpkins, got some fresh produce, some cider, and some pineapple preserves. I'm excited to try, all for just $99. So if you're looking for fresh produce and want to support local farmers, definitely check out Perkins Orchard. Happy fall, y'all.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Lindsay A. Jenkins, and I'm the founder of Maroon Arts and Culture.
Hello, I'm Celia Carey. I'm the Director of Programs at Maroon Arts and Culture.
At Maroon Arts and Culture, we curate programming that encourages the development of new work, that provides safe spaces for collaboration and conversation, and most importantly, celebrates the global Black diaspora.
At Maroon Arts and Culture, we pride ourselves in our cultural celebrations, such as our annual Juneteenth Jubilee. We have some educational programs coming up here in the spring where we are looking for some teen playwrights to join our Teen Play Festival. Anyone between the ages of 13 to 18 can join. Upcoming, we're working on our Salon series where we include some really highly curated events for our members to attend.
The Salon series is our opportunity to support, to promote, to produce new Black plays, and then get Black audiences engaged with those plays. Because that is something that we feel so passionately about at Maroon, we're really excited about this opportunity to partner with the Geffen with the First Deep Breath, because not only is it allowing us to support the amazing ensemble of Black artists that are coming together to make this show, it's also giving us the opportunity to take our friends, fans, supporters, and audiences and patrons to see this play and give them an amazing experience around the play so that we can just continue to support and pour love into Black theater and Black arts. The American theater is lucky to have access to Black stories. If we want to really think about what the future of American theater looks like, it should really just be as many Black stories as possible because they're amazing. The Black theater is amazing. The forms, the structures, the lack of structures, the way we incorporate different art forms, the way we incorporate music and dance and spirituality and community and energy, engaging Black audiences is going to give us a richer and more valuable theater going experience. Any theater should be so lucky to be bringing Black stories onto their stage. I have been enjoying Black stories my entire life, and I'm just happy that American theater is finally catching up and now they get to enjoy those stories as well.
Come see the First Deep Breath at Geffen Playhouse running through March 5th.